is putting a project that I've been working on the past year with a partner who's here. We've been working on this, and I want to try and explain it all to you in context of where I see it in the evolutionary history of data transmission. It's a bit funny way to put it, but I want to go back through how we've gone through history to transmit data to each other, and how the information revolution has changed that, and how I see us playing a part in the next stage of that. And I'm going to have to move pretty quickly through the first bit, but we've got, so I think it all starts off with speech and language over 200,000 years ago. It provides a way of communicating to each other. It doesn't provide a very thorough method of maintaining data. There's a massive loss. You can't ensure that you tell the same story every time you tell it. So there was a major improvement when we invented writing about 5,200 years ago. Of course, with that, once it's written, it's the same story every time that you read it. And that can also reach far more people. So it's a more effective means of transmitting data. The major improvement was made with the movable type printing just under 1,000 years ago in China. Gutenberg improved on it and, well, I don't know, or reinvented it in Europe, 1450. But the Chinese invented it way before then. And again with this, what this allows is once you create your woodblock carvings, you can get a message and you can create thousands of copies of it, all exactly the same, all with the same message, and spread it to a lot more people. Then typewriters came around, and that sort of democratized information. So people could start typing their own messages and spread that around. And so each step of this, we're getting closer and closer to more people being able to spread information to more people. Personal computers, really just sort of a change of format. But that gave way to the web. About 20 years ago, the World Wide Web was invented by Tim Berners-Lee. So leading up to that, we had the internet about 60 years ago. But the internet was really just the connections. The web became the vessel through which people could create information and spread it using the internet. And the growth of the internet over this time has actually been quite phenomenal. It's funny that Stephen ended up by bagging on Kurzweil, because I've grabbed some of Kurzweil's slides here. This is research is done, so whether you agree with his conclusions or not, this is hard data which he uses to create his conclusions. This is a logarithmic scale over time of the number of hosts on the internet, so the number of servers holding information. So when you see a solid line going up like that on a logarithmic scale, that is going up really fast. Each year we're getting more and more. Similarly, we've got internet backbone bandwidth, so the internet's getting faster. The cost per performance of modems, it's getting cheaper to transmit data. The fastest possible data transmission speed, again, this is all logarithmic, and that's going faster and faster and faster on a logarithmic scale. So we're getting faster data transmission, we're getting more of it, it's getting cheaper. Price performance of wireless data devices, so it's actually getting easier to get data as well. It's more accessible because we've got it in our pockets everywhere now. So everyone's pretty familiar with this story, with the information revolution, the information age that we're in. We're all familiar with this, but it's come a long way to get here. And it creates a really interesting position that we're in now, where you've basically got, in our world, everyone you know has access to virtually all information that humans have ever wanted to transmit to one another. You can go on the internet and access all of it, immediately, instantly, quickly, wherever you are, and that's quite amazing. Doesn't that imply that we should all sort of know everything? No. Of course not, because we've got, getting information off the internet is like taking a drink from a fire hydrant. There's so much information, you have to be able to discern quality and value, and decide what it is that you want, what you're interested in, and spend your time. We've got limited time to read, limited ability to remember what we read, and limited interest. You're not interested in everything. So this is where we're at with our ability to disseminate information. But what's started, still a good 20 or 30 years ago, but what we're more heavily involved in now is a different phase. We're trying to not feel this overwhelming nature of all this information. And we're trying to figure out better and better ways to find the right information and discern it. In the beginning, Tim Berners-Lee started a list of all the web servers. So he just listed every website that was there. Easy. Of course, that quickly grew out of hand. They started making search programs, but this was searching for files. So Archie in 1990 was the first search program, but it just found the files, didn't tell you what was in it. It took a few more years for the web crawler to start doing content search. So then you'd find files based on the keywords within the files themselves. And that of course exploded into all the old school search engines, which are all very interesting. And then of course came out in Google and their invention of PageRank, which sort of ended the whole search engine race to some extent. They've got 90% of all search traffic now, which is just phenomenal. And what they've done though is they just invented a method of identifying not just what word you're looking for, but what's the best. It's not even necessarily the best quality, it's the most popular as according to other web pages. It was just unique at the time, and they've constantly refined it and it's constantly evolved, but it provides us with a technique for finding information which generally suits our needs. And it's very good at it, but it's still limited.
What exactly means most popular? Does it mean basically that if I click a lot on my homepage, then it will go up in ranks at Google?
No. It's the PageRank system, the most basic form of it, is it's keyword plus other websites linking to it.
So it's based on links to how many other pages?
Because they basically think of that as a vote. So if you have, and it also depends on the quality of that website, it's a complex algorithm, particularly now.
Yeah.
But so that by doing it that method, they've provided a way of sort of weighting keywords with other factors which indicate what's quality. So they've got that, but it's got limitations in other methods. Because by using search engines like this, it gives us one method of finding information. You type in what you want, it gives you a version of that. In this case, it's the most popular as the web's concerned. It's not necessarily the most factual, it's not necessarily the best, it's not necessarily a context, it's not an opposing perspective. What if you want an opposing perspective to it? It also does not give you what you never expected. Maybe some of the older ones did, but that was not my time.
Ah, the good old days.
So there's no serendipitous discovery, but there's been a parallel evolution of finding information alongside this search engine directory route, and that's social methods. So as early as 1996, ItList was invented as a social bookmarking tool. So if you find a page that you like it, you bookmark it, but you do it publicly. And that allows other people to go, oh, someone likes this page, it must be good. It's a personal vote rather than a website vote. Delicious is a more famous version, started in 2003. And StumbleUpon became quite huge. My partner and I, it's funny, we both were addicted to StumbleUpon quite badly for a number of years. You get in the habit. Does anyone here know what StumbleUpon is? A few of us? Good. The basic idea is you install this app onto your computer and you indicate your interests, and then you go stumble, and it takes you to a random website within your interests. And then if you like it, you can thumb it up or thumb it down, and the websites have lots of thumbs up. You get, they're high quality, they get delivered to more people. Quite simple, but it's a beautiful way of discovering great quality content that lots of people love, which you will probably love, without knowing that you're even looking for it. The number of things that I've learned through this thing is amazing. It's very educational, and it's a great way to discover good information. And so this, I think of this as sort of the pinnacle of serendipitous information discovery. Dig and Reddit are website sort of versions that provide the same thing. When you go to the homepage, you get a list of pages, and you just click on them all, and you find out stuff. You don't know what you're going for.
So is that just a free app then?
Yeah, all of this stuff's completely free. And then of course everyone's more familiar with now, Facebook and Twitter. So these are not designed to provide information, these are designed for communications between people that you know and people that you want to know, in Twitter's case. But because of the way they work, people find things that they like and they share it to their friends or they post it to Twitter, and so we have this feed of news and pages, and they become a recommendation. So, and then not to mention we've got something like Wikipedia, which you can think of as an attempt to summarize all of this wealth of information we've got, trying to find an unbiased, objective summary of the information and present it as that. It's one website, sort of closer to the search model because you go into it, you search for what you want to find out about. But this is what we've got at this point in time. We've got a world that is thoroughly connected. Not the entire world, we've reached about 2.4 billion people at the moment. So, but that's technology will continue to take care of that. As the price per performance goes down, it gets cheaper, bandwidth goes more web servers, we will reach every person on earth in the near future. It won't take long. But what's the biggest struggle is discerning the information. How do we know we're getting good information? And this is important because in this age where everyone that you know is connected to all information of humankind and has this ability to search for it and find factual information, good information, and get recommendations to them on pages, we don't seem to be this all-knowing, all-seeing race yet. We don't know everything. In fact, we seem to have people who are quite ignorant, who will go and ask questions like that. This could be a joke, okay? I'm going to be fair, this could be a joke because even the asker has said that's a good thanks. But if humans evolved from monkeys and apes, why are monkeys and apes still here? That's stumped you, hasn't it? I've had someone's actually asked me this to my face in the history. They, as a serious, take that question. And so, for a question which is so easy to answer, a moment on Wikipedia and you've got the answer to this. A simple search in Google, we've got the answer. But people still have this ignorance and think that their ignorance is a weapon to bludgeon people over the head with. I don't know, therefore no one knows. And just to prove that this one isn't a joke, this is put on churches. If man evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? So this is real in our society. In the age where everyone's connected to all human knowledge and able to find stuff, simple things like that. And then there's Bill O'Reilly. Did anyone not see this or hear about it?
I've seen it.
No.
So everyone's pretty familiar with it. Tide goes in, tide goes out. That's why he knows. You don't know? David Silverman, president of the American Atheists, was debating with Bill O'Reilly about the fact that, you know that God's a scam. And Bill O'Reilly says, what do you mean? Tide goes in, tides go out, never miscommunication. That's how I know God exists. You can't explain that. He thought that no one could explain tides. And so then when the blogosphere held him to task for that, going, come on, the moon causes the tides. I've got a video on this just because it's hilarious. He responded.
David, Beverly Hills, Florida. What do you mean when you refer to the tides, when you ask about the existence of God? Science explains the tides, the moon's gravity pulls on the ocean. Okay, how did the moon get there? How did the moon get there?
How did the moon get
You
there?
pinheads who attack me for this, you guys are just desperate. How did the moon get there? How did the sun get there? How did it get there? Can you explain that to me? How come we have that and Mars doesn't have it?
How come Mars doesn't have a moon? Two. So the criticism he received over the first comment was like, come on, go to Wikipedia, we've got the answer to this. And he doubles down. You don't know, well, sure, the moon does it, how'd the moon get it? Obviously we have answers for all this stuff. So this is the most popular man in journalism, I think. Like, he's got more viewers than anyone else. He's clearly plugged into technology, he's got a television show. So there's clearly some disconnect happening here between our ability to access information and our ability to consume the right information. Yeah, that's what David Silverman actually said. I spoke to him last year and he says he's putting an act on for the publicity. But the problem is that he still says that and people believe him. They'll take it at face value. So, how is this possible? There's definitely an element of indoctrination happening, particularly for young children being brainwashed into particular perspectives, and particularly indoctrinated in a way which puts up walls to stop them from exploring other alternatives. Presented with straw men, so that when they hear the real argument, they box the real argument as the straw man argument and go, or we evolved from the common ancestor between us and chimpanzees. You mean we evolved from monkeys? That didn't happen. That sort of training, particularly when done in like a cult environment where they're not allowed access to other perspectives or people. And definitely with, people like the Amish or whatever that refuse to engage with technology, of course. But all the people aside that don't engage with technology, I think the biggest problem is probably that to begin with. And I'm not opposed to this. This is welcome to Nobody Cares, population 6.5 billion. For the most part, most people don't care. Most people don't care if we evolved from monkeys or not. Most people don't care if you're a Christian or atheist or whatever. They go about their lives. They care about one or two things maybe, and most of everything we don't care about. The trick is, in my opinion, that at one time or another, something happens in the news, or something happens which makes you care. I know for quite a number of years I didn't care about climate change. And then my dad started saying, have you heard about this, have you heard about this? And it made me look at it, and I went into it ignorant. I didn't know anything. I have a scientific background, but I'm not a climate scientist, so I started researching it. And I learned a lot coming at it from a perspective of I don't know. And so I think a lot from that experience, I expect most people at one time or another have to go through that with everything, whether it be as a child, or as a teenager, or as an adult, with just something you've never cared about before. Something makes you care suddenly, so you start investigating from a neutral perspective. And they're the people that we really need to reach with rational evidence and logic and just reasoned, evidence-based thinking. And so now I want to go into why I think this problem exists. Everyone's got access to this information. When they start looking for it, for the answers to these things that they start caring about, there's all these roadblocks in the way. The concept of a filter bubble is reasonably recent, a few years now. Ellie Pariser came up with the term, gave a TED talk about it and wrote a book. And basically it is, the concept of a filter bubble is an algorithmic bubble that programs like Google and Facebook use, where they try and look at your past actions and figure out what you clicked on and what you liked and what you reacted with, and go, well, that's the sort of person you are, you're going to like more of that. So this is two different people typing the same search for Egypt, and this guy's obviously quite more political because he's got crisis in Egypt, Egypt news, news for Egypt, so he's got the news thing, whereas this guy's got Egypt travel, pictures of Egypt. Same search, same period of time, completely different results. And that gives us a really false sort of interaction with this world of information, because we think Google's giving us the information.
That's got Wikipedia.
That's right, they did both get Wikipedia. So but you see that there's still a qualitative, there's a slight difference there. And that creates a different perception of the world, just the pictures alone. Pictures of people in like a riot versus pictures of camels is a different aesthetic as well as information. So the filter bubble has been identified. I'm not sure if they're trying to counteract it or if it's going away a bit since it's been pointed out. But there is this element of, as human beings, we have this confirmation bias where we do like what we like, and we want more of what we like. And Google and Facebook are just giving us what we want. Because I actually want to expand this into what I call confirmation bias bubbles, which, stepping outside of the internet for a second, we pick the news programs that we agree with. We watch them because we agree with them, and they give us more of what we think. We go to the websites that tell us the sorts of things that we agree with. We go to the rallies. This is Glenn Beck's rally to restoring honour, which was countered with Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert's rally to restore sanity. So I know which one I would go to of those. I certainly wouldn't go to the other one. And we all do this. We make these decisions in our life based on our past experiences and our current position, and all these decisions reaffirm our current position. If you have a job where your colleagues look like that, or a job where your colleagues look like that, you're probably going to be a different person. Because they're probably going to have different beliefs and perspectives, and they will argue those perspectives to you. Every time you step out of line, they'll probably kick you back into it. So we have this, the algorithmic filter bubble of the internet is just an extension of what we do to ourselves already. So we have this confirmation thing, and then what happens is we get to the internet. So we have this life. I'm going to say a kid's growing up in a Christian family and he's going to church, and the pastor says, you need to learn more about creation science, you should check out this website. So he goes there and starts reading Creation Ministries websites. What then happens is he's going, I'm not sure about this, because he's still unsure about everything, he doesn't know, so he starts researching and exploring. What does he do? Here's other helpful websites. I might go to Creation Wiki. Oh look, the age of the earth. Can't read that now, but yeah, apparently scientists are not quite sure, and maybe God created 6,000 years ago and made it look like it's much older because he can do that, and all sorts of arguments, which when you read them and you've got no external, no opposing perspective, no counterpoint, what can you do but agree with it? It's quite authoritative. It's written like an encyclopedia. In fact, I'm going to go down and look at the references, and here is the Creation Research Society Quarterly Journal. It's an academic publication. And so by following these links, you could do this all day and go through tens, hundreds of websites that all refer to each other and all agree with each other. Because it's the state of the internet and the state of people in general. When you make an argument, you don't link to, here's my argument and I'm going to make it as strong as I can, and as I'm going to point out that this guy disagrees, you should go read him, and this person has a different opinion, you should go read them too. Because if we're presenting our case, we want people to believe us, we want people to agree with us. So all websites do this, whether they be Christian, atheist, skeptic, homeopathic, whatever. People are arguing for their position. So I talk about these website neighborhoods, because it ends up becoming this sort of self-referential. I visualize it as this sort of way that all the Christian websites could probably sort of clump together. All the atheist websites could probably clump together. All the skeptic ones could clump together. All the climate denial ones would reference each other. I'm sure there's probably visualizations of this out there, because it's definitely real with the linking patterns between these websites. So people will get trapped in that. And then ultimately, after they've done this research, we all have this confirmation bias resistance to correction. Once you've done a bit of research and you've seen different authors and different websites all agreeing with each other, you're pretty convinced. And then you come around and the example I've got here is with, I'm going to come up with creation, climate debate. If you go to websites and they start painting scientists as being won over by money and government grants is what's swaying them because the government wants to take tax money, and you hear this argument over and over again, when then you go to a website that says, well, actually 97 out of 100 experts think that humans are changing global temperatures, and you see all the scientific papers that are published that are clearly saying that it's caused by humans versus the few that deny it or argue against it, then that doesn't matter because you know that they're being bought by money and you've already heard this belief, so being told that you're wrong is something that humans really, really hate, and so they resist it. And so they'll cling to this idea that they've got because, well, they've believed this and they don't want to change that. And this is one of the problems with something like Wikipedia. I think of this as this unbiased source where they're trying to be objective. The problem is I agree with it. Turns out when you go to Conservapedia and look at the Wikipedia entry on it, Wikipedia is a politically left-leaning, online, wiki-based encyclopedia project written and edited by an ad hoc assemblage of mostly anonymous persons who are mostly, according to the register, teenagers and unemployed persons. Wikipedia editors, unlike their counterparts at Conservapedia, a much better website I'm sure, are overwhelmingly young males, a demographic associated with self-centered belief systems and behavior. So all this time you thought you were using the unbiased source. They're very biased. And it's worse than that, it's founded by an atheist, libertarian, objectivist Jimmy Wales. Disgusting. So it's really easy. When something like Wikipedia comes out and says, these are the facts, we're objective, this is how it is, it doesn't help when people will just go, well, that's your beliefs. You're presenting them as facts, but they're not. That's just your agenda. So trying to just assert facts like Wikipedia, so with Bill O'Reilly, why didn't he just go to Wikipedia? It's a left-leaning, biased website. And he's not left-leaning. He's fair and balanced. So
it doesn't matter though whether it's left-leaning or not. You read the data. You're directed there. Someone asks you or directs you to something. You check it out.
But didn't you see scientists get paid money to lie?
And even if some
you don't have to convince me.
There was an argument about authority before because it didn't matter how many scientists agree or not. It was a matter of does the data or evidence support it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't have to convince me though. The problem is this is how the other side paint it, and so they refuse to sort of play ball with that fact.
The hilarious things if you I think the repeatedly whines about is that it's being deleted and it talks about how teenagers and unemployed people can prove them wealth with no financial incentive and how angry it makes them.
So, to summarise everything that I've covered so far, 200,000 plus years of permanent 200,000 plus years to get to where we are with permanent internet access to everyone, instant information. 60 plus years of evolution of methods to access that information. Since the methods to access actually closer to 30 years. In the last 10 years, we've had really good access to all this information, good search, good discovery mechanisms. So we've had the technology to find the information. But still we have people being introduced to erroneous information. So bad websites are out there telling lies and telling untruths, which they think are true. You know, there's just a lot of misinformation and it's not always their fault. They think they're fighting a good fight. And people believing it despite overwhelming access to good information. So my contention is, ignoring all the people that aren't on the internet has failed to correct these ignorances because it lets people sit in their confirmation bias bubbles. It allows people to go into these website neighborhoods and consume that one perspective over and over which they already agree with, and then continue to think that that's right. The internet allows it, and I don't disagree with that. The internet's beautiful the way it is. I wouldn't want to change the internet. But I do believe that technology should be continually added to improve. So that brings me to the project we're working on. So, which is what we're trying to do, is destroy these confirmation bias bubbles with technology. Because the internet is an amazing end step, and I do think of it as an end step to this process of information dissemination, because you can't get much more connected than everyone connected all the time, right? Is it's programmable. At no point in human history has it been possible to have a program watch the information you're consuming and interact with it and say, maybe this, or what about that? At no point in speech could you have someone following you around going, that's wrong. Even with written word, printing press and typewriters, there's no way that you could have it set up, some sort of program, some sort of system where every time someone types, what have the Romans ever done for us, we should overthrow them, that immediately stapled to that is, well, they gave us aqueducts and safe to walk the streets. You couldn't have a system which gives you that counter argument every time someone makes an erroneous statement.
Well, is that what good education is?
Good education. Well, isn't that what a good education is?
Yes.
Yeah, but there's lots of things getting in the way of that as well.
No system's perfect.
Yeah, no system's perfect. So,
And we can't fix that.
yeah.
Well, we can't fix it.
We have to go at the whole.
Certainly.
Yeah, but that's also a political issue, country to country. The internet transcends all that. I think we'll have much better results if this goes the way that we hope. We will have a much bigger impact than any sort of educational change will have in Australia or in the States, because this will affect the entire world. You change the internet, you change everyone. So, Rebut is the name of the project. The basic idea of it is when you read an article which has been rebutted elsewhere on the web, it pops up a little alert. This page has 9 rebuttals. You click on the icon in the top right hand corner, it has a 9 on it. I have a laser pointer. And it takes you through, it gives you a list of direct rebuttals and general rebuttals, and it gives you access to a page which shows all the rest of them. So it just shows a few of them. We differentiate between direct and general because the basic difference is all of these are directly arguing against this specific page. Whereas general, this is climate change and the integrity of science. It's generally opposing what this page says without specifically mentioning it. That is the simple version of how it works. So you click through and this takes you through to one of the rebuttals.
So how can you find out how well substantiated each of these factors are?
You can do that through your own research, but I'm going to go into exactly why I think what we're doing here is in some ways superior to attempts to trying to find, because a lot of people have tried similar things where what they've done is, this information's bad, we're going to have a program which tells people this is bad information. But what that does is the same thing that Wikipedia does. It's a biased source, I can ignore it. This is someone pushing an agenda. So what we've created is a system which just says people have disagreed with us. Not us, other people. 9 different people have written about it in this particular example. And when you click through to the rebuttal, check with climate scientists for views on science, there's actually another rebuttal to this. So someone else has then counter-argued against this. And so what that allows is everyone of every belief and position to use the program and feel like they're part of it and feel like their views are being represented. But simultaneously being presented an opposing perspective. So what it's doing is, as I said, my contention is it's the confirmation bias bubbles that are holding us back. So when people are introduced to climate change, in this case, so this is just showing the flow, you go there, you click through, you get the rebuttal, get another counter rebuttal, you go there. It takes you from website to website, different authors, different websites, and at no point is our application saying this is right or this is wrong. There's no value judgment. And this is where my notes begin.
Can you go back that slide? But I think it's worth mentioning that the links already go back the other way. Right? The internet already has links going back the other way.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm going to demonstrate the process of adding links to our system. Yep.
Okay, so you look at a website. How does it quickly find 10 sources?
Okay. At this point in time, we can't. This is one of the problems with our current ability to program. We know people that have tried. Actually, we've been talking to them. there's no computational power to discern intention. So what we're doing is creating a semantic connection. This position, this page, is opposed to this page. And that's a human interpretation. And this is being done by humans. So I'm about to demonstrate how we add those links. Programmatically, there's no program yet that can identify your intention, what position you hold. You could be quoting someone, you could be being sarcastic. There's all sorts of ways that you could be misinterpreted by programs. So,
possibly Watson could.
Watson?
Yeah, if you can get
Maybe.
IBM to, if you
But
get
even
IBM
then-
to buy you, then
Well, we're hoping for Google, but IBM's good. But
IBM's got Watson, so you could use.
But the thing is yeah, Watson's like natural language.
Well, it's processing an awful lot of information and doctors at the moment, so it's
New switches.
So, yeah, thinking of all of the confirmation bias bubble bursting out of them. No, I can't remember all the points I was going to say on that, so I'll just move on. So, that was one of them. This one's reminding me of it. These are all the tags that we've got in our system so far that have more than one tag. This is not all of them. So this is, we've got everything ranging from science, religion, GMOs, nutrition, vaccination, journalism, internet, Romney, Coney. He had a lot of rebuttals going on about that time. Fluoridation, sport, entertainment, programming. So our program works for all subject matter. If you want to rebut that, you know, Brittany's had a bad day or whatever, fine. It's a rebuttal. If it has a counter perspective, it can be used in our application. And so this is one of the beautiful things about this. Skeptical Science, the climate change website, had an app that had all of the arguments against climate deniers. Great. What climate skeptic, denier, person who disagrees with that is going to download it? It never reaches the people that you want to read it because it's against them. People don't go out and try and find opposing perspectives. They want more of what they like. So what we have here is an app which anyone can use to go in with a biased perspective. Some libertarian can go and install this and start posting all their libertarian arguments against all of the Republican and Democrat arguments and show how wrong they are and feel really self-righteous about how right they are. And that can be their motivation, and that's fine. We encourage that. We want them to do that. We want them to defend their position to the bone. Because what they don't care about is what this app's going to work on them on. They may have never thought about homeopathy before. They may not know how it works. They just heard about it and thought, you know, sounds cool. And then they're reading an article about it, and the rebuttal comes up and says, well, this is nonsense. Changes their mind on it. Maybe, you know, they're not religious, or, you know, they're influenceable in other areas that they don't care. Remember I said the population doesn't care? Most people don't care about most things. But when they're introduced to it, they can get trapped into this cycle of bad information.
It'll be a central question. Why would they?
Why, sorry?
Why would they?
Why would they get trapped?
No, why would they go to this? As opposed to Google, as opposed to something else.
No, because this is installed in the browser. So the reason they've installed it is because they
They
are...
need to choose the browser.
They need
well,
to install a plugin.
plugin.
Yeah.
So
He's saying they may want to do that if they're you know, right wing, because they may want to push up the right wing stats.
But that
in the
gets
app.
back to the same question of why would they?
Why would they install it?
It keeps coming back to if they want to stay in their confirmation bubble, why would they do something?
So the first thing is because they want to push their agenda. They want to convince
why
it.
not just use Google?
Because you can't use Google to push an agenda. You use Google to find
Just
information.
not in front of every single.
But it's actually-
They currently edit Wikipedia articles, and there's edit wars on Wikipedia all the time because they want to push their agenda.
Yeah.
You just need to look at some of the contentious articles that they've had to lock in the last 12 months.
So what we've got here is a system which allows people to push their agenda, push it as hard as you want.
Yeah.
Our system's
So
actually
you're
really
looking for
robust
agenda
against it.
pushers, number one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
And then
Once we're good at finding out what's the right information about that side, right? The strongest argument for each side is what we want.
But anyone who can do that can do a variety of searches and gain the information now.
In general. But when you read an article, do you have any idea how hard it is to find a direct rebuttal to a specific article? I've tried many times without
The thing that
I
came
can
out
trick
that
it.
temperatures haven't gone up in the last 15 years.
Yep, I've actually got the slides out.
And that's come up and you read it and think, well, it sounds fair, but
That's right.
It take time to rebut it. I mean, you don't believe
This
it.
is, I gave a talk in London, and that was my favourite example, was when that article was published by the Daily Mail, we had rebuttals to that within 24 hours.
But they're hard to find.
Yeah,
That's not the
Unless
point.
you really-
That's
That's the
not
point.
the point of rebuttal. We're trying to
Yeah,
follow the
that's
news
the point.
quickly enough
That's
to
the
rebut it.
point. So you have someone that, like, takes the opposite view, but you want to just click on and find the rebuttal.
What we
Like
need
that.
for that one, the Met published their rebuttal about 16 hours after that article came out. And we had it in our system about 8 hours after that. What we want is the Met to know about rebuttal and submit it as soon as they write it.
Yeah.
And then of course everyone to be using it. So at this point we're still in beta. This is worth saying. We're still early. We're still developing this. We're doing a lot of work. We've already got over 4,000 users. And a surprising stat we have over 1 million lookups per day. So 1 million websites going, is this being rebutted? So we're getting a lot of action already and we're still very young. Probably move on from that. So I think I finished that point. People install it to push their agenda, but then it's all the other stuff that they don't care about, which hopefully directs them to, it's not directing them to the right information. It's not
So
directing
you
them
need
to,
institutions on
It's
side and
just
you
giving
need
them-
the browser to still install it as a standard feature.
yeah, so that would be nice. That would be an ideal goal. There's actually lots of implementations for it, and we're working on a few from our end, but the browser extension is the simplest one to get started with, and the most effective. You can't miss it when it's on.
The one issue you've got potentially is that Dig went into lots of problems because Dig got
Yeah.
lots of issues because it started giving its own select bunch of people with more power, and then it was starting to be gaming as well. So isn't the system?
Gameable? Every system. Google's gameable.
Well, it is, but it's such a massive scale. It's hard.
Well, hopefully we'll be on massive scale one day too.
We haven't had anyone trying to game us yet, which is pretty impressive with the number of users.
We haven't had
Not a
any.
single bit of spam.
But the thing is with this is it's a arms race. It's
Yeah.
always an arms race. When they make their first strike, we'll react. There's no point trying to predict gaming because you're just going to be wrong.
Isn't the whole point that you take most of the position? Like with teams,
Yes.
they have voting, so you figure out whoever's the biggest group has their position privileged.
Yes.
So arguably you may have more rebuttals, but if they're all non-factual nonsense.
If you've got 50 pages of rebuttals and all of them actually aren't really rebuttals, but they're more like confirmation, are your confirmation rebuttals going to grow?
But it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah, that's the sort of stuff which again the users have to control. This gets into a lot of the sort of technical side of things of how we're going to handle that, and don't worry, we're thinking about that stuff all the time. That is exactly our job.
And
is to make
we
sure-
haven't got one yet, not one of them, which is surprising. Out of like 1,500 that have been submitted, not one of them has been bad quality.
Well, you've probably
Which
got
is-
people who are
Largely skeptics.
people like
Sentient bots
this, who
involved.
want to make it work.
But this is it.
Yeah.
So this is it. This is our. We have like a strategy of rolling out. We started with skeptics. This is my first talk to an atheist group, but there's much overlap there because I know that that sort of rational mind thought, great word. That rational approach is one where hopefully I'm putting trust in all you guys here that when you go and start using it, you will be fair and even-handed. And this is actually what I'm going to talk to you about when I'm going to show you rebuttals that I've added. I add things that I disagree with. Because adding it isn't about saying I agree with it, it's about the fact that this is the best argument the other side has.
But it's on top
Yeah, I
of
mean, you don't take a position.
No.
It's just about rebuttals.
Well, I'm saying personally
But he
using
does have a position.
I do have a
He
position.
does have a position.
But Rebutta refuses to. As a corporation, we will never have a position on anything because we need to be a neutral moderator for it to work.
Yeah, that's right.
Are you corruptible?
Question on the back.
Conversely, if I put the view that we have evolved from that, somebody could rebut that and say, well, hang on, we didn't.
Yes.
So those rebuttals against me again happen as well.
Yes. Exactly what's going to happen. So let me continue with the talk and I'll cover some of that. So that last slide, we aren't creating more content. We're organising it. The whole objective here is to map all the claim rebuttal connections of the web and then just present them in useful ways. So, for example, this is the one. You land on this website, you probably think, stuff it. But I see it and I say this article, Evolution is the Foundation of Allah, is a response to a rebuttal of a creationist claim published by Talk Origins Archive. So this is the creationist response to the Talk Origins rebuttal. Which means you can follow that link back to Talk Origins. This is the thing that this page is rebutting. This is presenting a claim that creationists make, for example, from this source, and this is their rebuttal of it. So you click on that link and you have the source. So by landing on that page, you have found 2 rebuttals. People that land on this page have no idea that this exists. People that land on this page have no idea that this exists. This is the fundamental flaw of the internet that we're trying to correct.
find that pretty quick.
That's it, that's what we're trying to fix. So you submit this to rebuttal, which is simply a process of you click on the rebuttal icon, you go, this is the rebuttal, this is the source, submit. At the moment we require tags and comments, but we're removing that just to make it easier in case you don't want to do that. And then you do it again, this is the rebuttal, this is the source, submit. 5 seconds of work. You don't even need to read the articles, to be completely honest. Because you can identify from that first sentence on that page, this is a response to this. You know what the relationship is. Really simple to do, really easy, anyone can do it. And the end result is someone lands on this page, they get an alert, they click through, they read this, they get an alert, they click through, they read this. They've now got 3 different perspectives on this issue, which they wouldn't have had if they had just landed here. I don't know, you guys may be sad that they ended up on the creation wiki. If you don't like it, find a rebuttal to it. And that way they end up on an atheist website. And if they've got a rebuttal to that, they should add it to that. Because at the end of the day, the discussion has to end somewhere. Or it has to sort of resolve itself in one way. Or the people reading it will at least go, well, this is just senseless now. I've got as much information as I need. This is another example, the Conservapedia entry on atheism from Rational Wiki. A point-by-point discussion / refutation of Conservapedia's article on atheism. It's a rebuttal. Easy to add. Wikipedia's article. I put this image here because all these other examples are direct rebuttals. They are clearly saying this page is a rebuttal to that page. I put this up because this is an example of a general rebuttal. Wikipedia's article on evolution could be used as a rebuttal to just about anything that denies evolution's existence, because it clearly lays out the evidence for it. It says this is scientifically found and this is why. So you could use it for just about any page. And then if you did, if someone here wanted to go, so this is how robust our system is, just in its natural state without any anti-gaming software in it. If you wanted to go and make this rebut every single creationist website on Earth, haha, now every creationist that goes and uses this is going to get sent here and get told evolution is real. All they need to do is write a good rebuttal to this article. And all of your work, which would be hundreds of hours of work, or thousands or millions, because there's a lot of websites, could be undone if they write a good rebuttal to this. Of course, I believe that they can't, but that's just my opinion. Rebuttal doesn't care. They link to a bad article, it's still a rebuttal. And then the people that read this, and then read the bad rebuttal, what are they going to believe?
Devil's advocacy, what do you do that Wikipedia essentially doesn't? Is a well-researched article on Wikipedia
Be unbiased.
should cover.
Yeah, but Wikipedia is not going to link to Conservapedia, except in the Conservapedia article.
But it can, in theory.
And okay, what we provide? Well, we provide lots of things, breaking out that network neighborhood, providing alternative perspectives. You're thinking, like, Wikipedia doesn't give you an alternative perspective because you agree with it. Maybe some things on it are wrong.
I think the best example is that chain that you had up before. There was this page rebuts this one, and this page rebuts this one. All of those pages said, this page that I'm talking about is wrong. They all link back the other way. But the page, they don't go the other way. No one reading it from the other side can see that chain. The chain only goes one way. So what we're basically trying to do is make it go the other way. So link it up both ways, so that you can actually find, anytime a journalist writes a really crappy article, heaps of bloggers pull it to pieces. And some of them do a fantastic job. But no one reading the news article knows the blogs exist. So we're trying to link them together. And that's the primary thing, really.
How do you rate the best rebuttal? Is it users rate?
So at this point it's very simple, and again this is one of those things which as we evolve and as things change we will have to keep up our end to make sure it works well. But the basic, this is the next slide, so the basic thing is, so this is a page and it has 11 rebuttals. Okay, this is from our new redesigned website, which you won't see yet, but how these are ranked is based on votes at this point in time. So what that gives us is the most popular rebuttal. Now that, maybe the most popular is not the most factual, maybe it's not the most evidence-based, maybe it's not the shortest or the longest. There could be lots of things that it's not, but it's definitely the most popular, it's the most upvoted one. And that is actually useful for many reasons. Because perhaps the most factual, well-referenced, cited rebuttal to this article is not compelling to the average person. At the end of the day, we don't need to convince the scientists that evolution happened. We need to convince the people that disagree with evolution that evolution happened.
In which case, aren't you at risk of following the wisdom of the past?
Well, it gets complicated, definitely. But the thing is that whole list is there, so people can access lots of different ones. The point is they still get an alternative perspective, and also because of the multi-step function. So this ends up being ideally the best rebuttal to this page, because it gets voted up to the top. Then what happens is they can then respond to this article with all of these rebuttals. It could be 10, 20, 100 rebuttals, and they all get voted up, and we get with the best argument at the top. And so what ends up happening is this repeats itself, and we have this vertical element of all of these rebuttals fighting with each other to get votes. And horizontally, we have this claim, this rebuttal, this counter rebuttal, this counter rebuttal. And so you can just read through claim, rebuttal, 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 and get, hopefully, and this is what, to play out with time, hopefully the best debate possible on this subject. It's like a high school debate, for, against, for, against, for, against, except instead of being high school students, you have got everyone on earth participating. If you think this argument sucks, write your own.
Do you have actual data on the engagement with the total list of rebuttals? So, like if you have 10 rebuttals, I expect there to be a drop-off severely and after the first one or two.
No, actually,
People clicking
we have data.
10, or
we don't have significant amounts of data at that level yet. Because, but this one is a fine example. 11 rebuttals, it didn't slow down at any point. Like it's not like we got 4 quickly and then it's like when someone finds a rebuttal, submit it.
But you have to have the readers though, right?
What about the actual users,
reading
right?
deeper.
I mean, you're going to run straight into the paradox of choice, right?
Yeah.
Economists study this and say, when you present with that many options, people shut down.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
This is why the objective is ideally just read the first ones.
I mean, there's a self-selection bias happening here because if we give them the most upvoted, they're more likely to vote that one. So we've got some issues that we have to. We have some algorithms we have to work on.
Then you're back to data, right? The most popular ones can be.
Yes, but still, even in that case, like this is not a terrible thing. They're still getting an opposing perspective, and it's still a good one. It's still a good argument.
If they read it.
If they read, that's actually another point I have.
If they read.
Yeah.
What you're trying to do, I think what you're trying to do is make people more curious, huh?
You're trying to foster debate. You're trying to stoke arguments.
Trying to engage people in opposing perspectives.
I fear you're disillusioned because people who are not curious are not curious because they just have a taste for that.
And they still have to click on it.
I'm sure you're going to improve the world a bit, but I fear that you're really fighting people's taste. Which is
perhaps, but it does go back to that point, as I was saying, that point where we go, well, what is this climate change thing anyway? The point at which we decide to investigate. I would rather have a system in place which says, you're looking at this side, well, maybe you should look at the opposing perspective side as well.
Haven't we got enough to read already?
Yes, exactly, but this is it. This is the fire hydrant analogy. There is too much to read. What we're trying to do is cut through that. Rather than going to Creation Ministries and read Creation Wiki and read the Creation
You're
Research.
trying to give them discrimination.
Start at Creation Ministries, right? Go to Talk Origins.
Discrimination is a function of their taste. I mean, it's a bit like trying to show people taste in art or music or something. They are born with it or not.
They'll find out.
They have preferences.
For the people that refuse to participate, then they're beyond help.
Okay.
They're not worth worrying about.
No,
seriously, if someone refuses to engage in a subject enough to find out about it, then that's like, what can you do? No one can do anything, that's their choice.
It's not just catering to people that already have well-formed opinions either, it's the ones that have no stance. Being presented with both sides and getting informed on the entire
This is for people who don't even know there's an opposing point.
People who don't know there's an opposing point have lived a life of lacking in curiosity to begin with.
Let's let him.
Well, I'm almost
talk
finished.
at pub afterwards.
Yeah, I'm almost finished. So everyone you know is connected. To summarise it all again, everyone you know is connected to all this information. Whether they're curious or not interested in going into it is up to them, and a lot of them don't. A lot of people don't care. But inevitably, at times, this information exists and people are using it. The internet is well used, so people are reading information.
Google Alerts, in theory, covers quite a lot of this already.
But it again doesn't cover intention. You have no idea. what their whole position is. Confirmation bias plus filter bubbles results in people getting stuck in neighborhoods of agreeing websites. This is the first bit of technology that I did a lot. I spent a year trying to find someone who had done this, and they haven't. There's lots of annotation services out there that have been tried and largely failed, but I think their biggest failure was that they tried to make everyone experts and they tried to correct things. So again, we're stepping away from that biased, gender-driven thing. We're neutral. We're just a vehicle of mapping. And our methods. So this I hope summarizes my objectives here. We're trying to create an inclusive atmosphere which bring people of all beliefs to engage in discussion, where a forced principle of charity, which I didn't cover, I'll explain that in a second if you want. A forced principle of charity is in effect, providing everyone with access to the best response possible. Principle of charity is just a philosophical thing where when you're in an argument with someone, you assume the other person is capable and rational and intelligent, and you give where their argument is lacking or has a straw man, but you can think of a rational version of it, then you give them the benefit of the doubt. You don't get hung up on the flaw. You focus on the point that they're making. So I talk about a forced principle of charity because in that system where I sort of showed, this is the best rebuttal possible, this person, all these people don't have to assume, they don't have to make the principle of charity for this guy because that's the best rebuttal. This should be rational, should be well argued, so they can argue it on its face. Because what ends up happening in so many of these debates, someone will say, they'll exaggerate a point, and then the rebuttal goes, oh, we don't have 6 billion of them, you're making that up, and they go, and rant away on something that doesn't matter. So we're trying to foster this inclusive thing which allows everyone to come in because it's outside of this bias thing, and the discussion has this principle of charity built into it. We get the best possible arguments, people responding to the best arguments. So come join in. Rebuttal.com, you can install it there. Install on your friends' computers, particularly the ones that you disagree with.
You have an opt-in model or an opt-out model?
That'd be good. Says it makes any difference.
Yeah. And submit rebuttal. So before, I didn't demonstrate the process of submitting rebuttals, but I did explain it. Find a rebuttal, go, this is a rebuttal. So this is a rebuttal, this is the claim, submit. It's really simple.
Do you have a community aspect of it? What are you saying is having it on your friends' computers? Can you see what they're saying and go, oh, you're...
Not yet. At the moment, Craig is the only program we have, and he has another job as well. This doesn't make us any money. We've got a long way to go on this, and we're investing lots of time and money into this. I'm flying over to TAM. You guys know TAM much? The amazing meeting?
Yes. Is that like Tim?
James Randi.
Yes.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, he's the amazing, the James Randi Education Foundation's meeting in Vegas. What was I saying? Sorry? Yeah, but before that.
It's flying there.
Time and money. One programmer, social networks. Not making money. Hopefully one day, but it's a long way off. And at the moment, Craig's our own program, so everything is prioritising. So at this point in time, prioritising make sure it works well and efficiently. But you have an account and there's not really much socialness to it.
I mean, you can see what they're doing. You can see the links they're adding.
And you get points for adding things.
Yeah, at the moment you can't subscribe to people, but we probably will add that pretty soon.
I just know there's a lot of people that like to sit around, drink and argue in person, and then they don't let it go, they continue for the next 3 months. And if they can do that, I'm sending people links or something.
Certainly, you can, every link you add, it comes up with the Facebook share thing, so you can choose who you want to share it with, put it on your page, tag your friends.
The joke about installing on your friends' computers, the great thing about this is when you install it, you can forget about it. It'll just sit there. It won't be in your way. It's a little square in the corner, and you can do nothing with it if you want, and it'll just pop up. And actually,
that's the next version, right?
That's how you do it.
Yeah, if it's spread everyone's computers first, that'd be great. No.
It says self-destruct in 5 minutes, no, in 5 seconds or something.
Unless you read release one rebuttal.
And on that, actually, just on something that you said earlier about reading things, something that I did forget to mention, and when that little alert pops up and says there are 9 rebuttals to this, you don't have to read them. You immediately get, someone disagrees with this, maybe I'll read it slightly more skeptically than I would have, just by the mere fact that someone disagrees.
I love the idea, by the way.
Thank you.
And I'd love to spread the word. Is there a preamble on your
website where just a very short one so that, for example, someone like myself can text friends to have an introduction to introduce this website. And I think it might be good if you do create so that we can do that rather than me having to think of myself how to introduce this to people. We do something like one sentence.
Well, we got 30 seconds. We got a 30 second thing. Maybe have you got it?
Actually,
not online.
I think it's on the hard drive.
Write an abstract, guys. That's what
Yeah. What we've we've got a 60-second video. 60-second. But yeah, we have got like a catchphrase sort of thing, like a short summary, which is going to go up on the new website. I think against the catchphrase. But
have you got a Twitter feed?
We've got. Oh yeah.
There's cards up the front. There's only 4 left, but there's business cards up the front as well that has his Twitter handle and everything. So.
Yeah, but you just add something onto your homepage.
Yeah, well the homepage has got information on it.
We can copy and paste and we can message to our friends, something obviously that you would know the best words to excite people to be interested in it, rather than having to think of them myself.
We're at an interesting time because we're really close to releasing the new version of the website. So what's there now?
Yeah.
It's about to get much better.
Yes.
So you're going to go home and see the website and you're going to be like, well, the information that I want, like, it's because we're focusing on the new one. But it's good. No, go home tonight, install it tonight, and you'll get emails. If you register, we have to register still. And you can unsubscribe, of course, if you want, but you'll get emails as we do updates and new things happen. So if you just register tonight, then you'll be kept up to date with anything that happens. And we haven't sent any emails for a few months now because there's been nothing to report, so it's not like we email you all the time. Yep.
So have you looked at tying it in with academic journal searches, things like EBSCO, because you get references showing that it's been within the article, but again, not the intention, and when you're looking at any academic area, it would be incredibly efficient for them to look at the abstract and see then the rebuttals of that article.
That's been brought up many times. I think there's definitely something there. The biggest problem is paywall issues.
Yeah.
So until we bring down...
We can't get to the sites. Even if you can get to it to submit it, we can't get through it to
the referencing tool is able to pull down all sorts of material.
Sorry, what's it called?
Zotero, Z-O-T-E-R-O. It's an open source one done by US University.
Yeah, because they might have
they can do that. Whatever technology approach they use, you guys might be able to use.
Well, they're at a university, they've got access. They're behind the paywall.
But the app that I use works off of my login.
Right, okay.
So there's...
your JSTOR login
access. It doesn't mean that everyone on the ESET will have that, but still within academic circles, that is a very large number of people, students, academics.
It's definitely something
you guys have got to open up your journal articles, that's the problem.
The problem is the student, the scientists would.
That's the
It's the journals.
Yeah, I know it's been worked on. There's big progress being made there. That will change it all, really.
So one other thing is I'm starting to be a teacher, and I don't know if you've thought much about how this would be really useful within educational context.
We've got... Seriously, I emailed my high school principal as deputy principal and said, I'm working on this. How can we use it more actively in high school education? Because it's something that you always do in high school is compare and contrast. We've actually, one of the people that I met in Las Vegas last year is a university professor, and he wrote an article for the JREF about how this could be used in education and certain things would need to change for privacy issues with students and stuff. So we have started exploring it. But again, everything here is like, how much can the two of us do? We're really excited about all the possibility, and we're going to explore all of it, but it's just time and
Is there a bubble for the argument on the left?
yes, actually, anyone here front-end coding?
Programmers to volunteer.
You have on your website inviting
Front-end coder. We're looking for a front-end coder.
Under what conditions? Do you still have control?
What programming languages did you need?
HTML, JavaScript.
I got up there. This is the article you mentioned. Global warming stopped 16 years ago. as from another presentation, so I put that in there. So I think that's it.